Democrats are celebrating their first victories in the era of President Trump. Wins in the gubernatorial races in Virginia and New Jersey and contests elsewhere across the country. They've declared Election Day 2017 a referendum on the president.
You have sent a message tonight, not simply to the voters in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You have sent a message across the globe to South Korea. Donald Trump, you don't stand for our values.
You made a choice for better schools, for better jobs, for better education, and better health care. And you rejected Donald Trump's fear, hatred, and bigotry.
This is one of the first major elections since Donald Trump was elected. Tonight, New Jersey sent an unmistakable message to the entire nation. We are better than this.
This was a rejection not only of President Trump, but of the policies that he and the Republican Party seem to be adopting.
President Trump sees it otherwise. Though he was unable to help draw more votes for Virginia Republican Ed Gillespie, he tweeted, "Gillespie worked hard but did not embrace me or what I stand for. Don't forget, Republicans won 4 out of 4 House seats. And with the economy doing record numbers, we will continue to win even bigger than before." So let me clarify. No, Greg, I didn't burp at the beginning. It's like sometimes you need to swallow before you talk, but then all of a sudden, like, we're on, and then, like, I was like, oh, my gosh.
It was after you said my name.
It was just like I was for Clem.
It's just lack of professionalism that disgusts
Pretty much.
me. You know, there are people that tune in for real TV,
well,
and to hear you burp and then pretend that you didn't burp.
Let's start with real analysis,
okay.
and we'll go to Kimberly first.
Thank you so much. Really, Greg, you should learn something from this experience.
I'm done.
So obviously this was a bit of an upset, right? Because there was, yes, he was down, I was saying 3%, but it was within the margin of error. So you thought, okay, maybe he can pull it out because he had the momentum. Okay, then he got the endorsement from President Trump. So anyway, you slice it, you got to be honest. This was, disappointing because they really hoped to kind of turn this around. When you look at the map, you saw, wow, red, 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 but some of the bigger cities and those urban areas, the suburbs, and we've seen that happen, right, in New York, et cetera, and where you've got a few key places, cities that are more urban, that actually pull in the large majority of votes, despite the fact that the whole rest of the map was red. So it's fascinating from that point, because we've seen a bit of a trend, in that direction, and we certainly did in the presidential election. And then I thought it was kind of interesting what Trump kind of backed away a little bit, saying, well, you weren't enough like I am, so therefore you didn't get it across the finish line.
Well, there is a lot of analysis going back and forth on that. What do you think of it?
I don't necessarily believe the Trump tweet, but it was great spin. I'll give him that. I think a Democrat won a blue state last night. No time to panic, but there are some serious warning signs there.
You're wearing a blue tie today.
I know. Well, it's I'm just playing mind games with the left, Kimberly. And we're going to be going to the Scream Fest later when they all yell at how angry they are about the election. I want to be undercover.
Yes.
So look at Virginia. I don't think the last 3 presidential elections a Republican has won that state.
Right.
There's a lot of government employees there, a larger Hispanic population, and very wealthy zip codes. Virginia was never Trump country. Donald Trump eked out the primary win over Rubio and then lost it by 5 points to Hillary Clinton. The new Virginia governor, as Greg pointed out the other day, is a 2-time George W. Bush voter, not a member of the resistance, and a Navy veteran. And the Democrats have not won anything on red territory yet. Let's be honest. This was not on enemy territory. This was their home turf. So let's pump the brakes on the Dem wave. At the same time, I think in 2008 or 9, after Obama was in the same position, Republicans had won New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Virginia. So let's just slow down. Now, there are warning signs. Trump's approval rating in Virginia, 40%. That's not very good. Turnout among Democrats was very, very high, and it was an anti-Trump vote. It wasn't a pro-Northam vote. And they did very well, as Kimberly said, the Democrats, among suburban people, especially college-educated whites, especially college-educated women. And the Republicans got trounced in the state legislature races, which means the grassroots movement is there. There is a concern, though, and here it is. Remember how Obama did so well when he was on the ticket, but then when he was off the ticket, he got trounced? So the warning sign is because of Trump's loyal base, and he's a persona-driven movement, that when he's not there in a midterm or an off-year election, the people aren't going to turn out, and it's going to be an anti-Trump vote instead.
Well, part of that, though, Greg, was because Obama pretty much didn't worry about it. He just let the party kind of do it. He was like the party of one, and that's one of the reasons that they've had to try to claw their way back.
Yeah, I think this is this is completely natural. The pendulum swing. We saw this under Obama. The opposition is always more galvanized when they are out of power. They have every reason to go out there and vote, and it's more exciting to vote for President Obama than his party, and it was more exciting to vote for Donald Trump than his party. So that's what you see. You need a focal point, which was President Obama and Donald Trump. But it's oddly, it's like a natural set of checks and balances. You elect this guy, Donald Trump, and then you let the other side gain seats by not voting. It's almost like unconsciously, it's some kind of evolutionary reflex that we crave the tension between parties. We want to have this guy in, but we don't want to go too far, so we almost unconsciously decide not to put anything out there until we have to. So you get this weird kind of balance. But I want to talk about just one more thing. If Ed Gillespie had won, would have said this was a harbinger of bitter, hateful campaign, that now these ugly ads that go after sanctuary city laws, this is going to be the norm because Ed Gillespie won. Ralph won. That's an ominous sign that bitter, hateful identity politics ads win, because that ad that we trashed worked.
Yeah.
The ad that portrayed white people as white Republicans as racists who kill children, it actually worked. When Tom Perez talks about fear, hatred, and bigotry, he's talking about his own party. This should send a chill up everybody's spine, if you still got a spine, that this is dangerous stuff. The company that did that ad already claimed they're going to do it. They're going to double down. I hate that phrase, but they're going to double down in it. So the idea that somehow,
expand.
They did something really, really ugly, and it worked.
I think that they would have done that ad against Ed, even if he had not run ads about MS-13.
Yeah.
Because I think that is, that they'll probably will. They'll try to run that play again and again. Juana, we'll give you the floor here in a second. I just want to point out that married women had gone for President Trump in Virginia by like a point over. Ralph Northam won married women by 10 points over Gillespie. But still, Gillespie got 120,000 more Republican votes in 2017 than he did in 2014 when he ran for the Senate. So it was a high turnout election all across the board, but the Democrats certainly had a lot more votes.
They did have a lot more votes, and to me, it has all the markings of a wave election. Going back, if you look at what happened in 2006 when the Democrats took over the House of Representatives, and you go then forward to 10.
Yeah, I remember that.
When you remember that well, to 10 when the Republicans took over the House from the Democrats. And so what we saw in both cases is very similar to what we saw here in Virginia, but nationwide last night. And so then you look at things like now the generic number in terms of preference, Republicans, Democrats for the House of Representatives, is double digits at the moment for the Democrats. And then factor in what Greg was talking about in terms of Trump's approval rating. At the moment, I think Gallup has him about 38%. This does not help, especially when you consider that historically the party
that was Jess, you said that.
I'm sorry. Okay, so the
we
party...
were two different people, Juan.
I know.
Not to him.
I guess
we all look alike, huh, Juan?
Identity politics at the 5.
Yeah.
When you consider that the president who's in power is not popular, it historically hurts in the midterms. Now, I think the big points that I took away from last night, the big issue was not immigration. Not at all. The big issue, number one issue, health care. Not even close. 40% of voters said it was their number one issue. And they favored Northam, the Democrat, by 55%. Wow. Now, you factor in what happened in Maine, where you had Maine voters go against their governor and say, you know what, we want to expand Medicaid. Oh, my gosh. This is the first time that Obamacare has been expanded by a a referendum, if you will, general vote of the people. And again, it says a lot about what could be the big issues going into 18. And the other thing that I would throw in here is that for the Democrats, the reason they're so exuberant is they're going to see a boost in fundraising, in candidates. Ray Ben Lujan, who runs the House Democratic election caucus, he's saying, you know what, I'm calling people all night. People are calling me back. That's unbelievable. All of a sudden, Democrats who've been lagging find that they have some energy. So I think this is good news.
Can I bring in somebody who was not on the ballot but was on people's minds? And it's Hillary Clinton, who said that last night was a great reminder of what's possible when we come together and fight for what we believe in. So I wanted to take a few minutes to celebrate the extraordinary successes of a few groups I and Onward Together proudly fight alongside. And yet, Kimberly, what do you think of that? Because she's not, I think that the Democrats are a little bit more liberated now that they don't have her as the candidate.
An albatross hanging, choking the very life out of the neck of the party. Yeah, I mean, of course she's trying to, like, you know, bootstrap onto this and say, you know, this is the movement. This is what we do.
Look what I did.
Like, she's the face of it. Look what happened now that I've been back out talking about it.
She's the Rosie Ruiz of politics.
Yeah.
You know, snuck into the as the marathon was ending. She's pretending she's pretending she's leading the parade.
It's unbelievable. But you know, people see through it. They see through it. So okay, she wants to be polite. She wants to give some congratulations. But this really doesn't have anything to do with her.
No, it's all about Trump. I mean, I don't know if that's good news to you guys, but it's kind of curious because it was like 60%.
It's good news in some places.
What do you mean?
Well, meaning that, like, I think Virginia is just a tough place for Republicans going forward. I do think that it's, as Jesse asked me before, is it no longer a purple state? And I think it is. Like, Virginia is a blue state.
I
think it's a blue
so
state.
De Blasio won the mayor race in New York.
75% of the people didn't vote.
A Democrat won in New Jersey. I mean, everyone was surprised when Chris Christie won there. I mean, it's a blue state one. Virginia's blue.
I don't
wouldn't get too excited about the wave
I
one.
remember.
It's still right now a little trickle.
Well, let me just say this. I think that when you look at the map that Kimberly was describing, you see all that red in the middle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but those are...
And these are mostly... I wouldn't even say
more
rural.
There's not that many people that live there.
Yeah, let's put it that way.
Okay.
But I will say this, that 60% of the people who voted said they had a negative, in Virginia, negative impression of GOP, and 60% said they have a negative impression of, guess who, Donald Trump.
But a lot of...
They're
the
in
negatives
the
for the
D.C. media
Party.
market, too. And, yeah, Democratic Party approval rating is at a historic low.
Yeah,
I think
it's not
at
good
about
either.
in the 30s one.
No,
so
well, but also,
you guys aren't doing that great either.
We got to run, but let's all keep an eye on Governor Terry McAuliffe.